Fancy Nancy by Jane O'Connor. I love being fancy. My favourite colour is fuchsia. That's a fancy way of saying purple. I like to write my name with a pen that has a plume. That's a fancy way of saying feather. And I can't wait to learn French because everything in French sounds fancy. No one in my family is fancy at all. They don't even ask for sprinkles. There's a lot they don't understand. Lace-trimmed socks do help me to play football better. Sandwiches definitely taste better when you stick in frilly toothpicks. A princess is supposed to keep her tiara on. What's a fancy girl to do, I ask my doll Maribel. Her full name is Maribel Lavinia Chandelier. Then I get an idea that is stupendous. That's a fancy word for great. Maybe I can teach my family how to be fancy. I make an advert and stick it on the fridge. And the letter says, "Learn to be fancy with lessons from Nancy. Start today. Easy, fun, free." Soon there is a knock on my door. My family saw the advert. They want to get started right away. The trouble is, my family doesn't own any fancy clothes. That's okay. I go and find, what's that fancy word? Oh yes, some accessories. Ooh la la, my family is posh. That's a fancy word for fancy. My mum twirls in front of the mirror. Why don't we go somewhere fancy tonight? How about dinner at the King's Crown, Dad suggests. Wow, my parents are acting fancier already. May I escort you lovely ladies outside? The limousine is waiting. My dad is our chauffeur. That's a fancy word for driver. When we arrive at the King's Crown, everyone looks up. They probably think we're movie stars. I am so proud of my whole family. They eat with their pinkies up and call each other darling. For dessert, let's have parfaits, my mum says. That's French for ice cream sundaes. Amazing! My mother knows French. When our parfaits are ready, I curtsy and say merci. Can you see that her ballet slipper has come undone? The laces are hanging down on the floor. I carry the tray like a fancy waiter, but, oops, I trip. I slip. The tray does a double flip. I don't feel fancy anymore. I want to go home. After I get all cleaned up, I put on my peignoir. That's a fancy French word for dressing gown. I feel much better. I'm ready for a parfait. I tell my parents, thank you for being fancy tonight. I love you, my dad says. I love you, my mum says. And all I say back is, I love you, because there isn't a fancy or better way of saying that. The end.